Good afternoon, guys. I am back for day 2. So, we're going to be continuing what we were working on yesterday. We're going to have some more globe development time, and then I'll probably read another chapter or two from Lives of Gethra. I noticed yesterday that in my stream I had not changed the screen back. Rookie mistake. So there'll be more visuals this time while I'm reading the chapters. You guys can follow along. Yeah, then if we get a few people in here, we can do some interactive world building after that. I'd love to see some of the community interaction. That's kind of the goal of the stream here. So we're gonna have some different roles like the different kings and queens and adventurers, ships captains, merchants, you name it, and we'll have them taken on by actual players in the chat and see where the world and history goes. So stay tuned for that, and we'll get to that later. All right, so let's just get started here with the globe. I like to reference Google Earth as we work along. It helps to see how actual coastlines look, especially during this part of the process. So we'll keep that open. And then we got our reference coastline. All right. Again, just using this to help reference where coast in Gethra would be rough or smooth, where you'd have beaches or rocks and mountains, volcanoes. And so here we go. Let me just get this connected here. In case anybody's curious how what my process works like, I got a Wacom Intuos tablet. It's a little bit of an old one, but it's served me really well. Highly recommend for anyone looking to do digital art. Of course, it's pretty common advice, but all right. So let's switch over here to Blender. Oops. There we go. So I think we were moving into a smoother part of the coast earlier. Oops. Yeah, so we're just up here. So there'd be some glaciation effects from the end of Gethra's ice age. And then we're going to have, beyond that, those smoother, there's no tectonic activity causing a mountainous zone there, or a rocky zone, so it'll be a little bit smoother. Definitely with this being my only first or second stream, definitely still in the learning phase of even things like drink lots of water. I was, after reading those Lives of Gethra chapters for the podcast yesterday, I got started to get a little hoarse. So I'll have to be careful with that. There we go. Again, just painting a texture onto a sphere here in Blender so that we can convert that over into a two-dimensional map later, and we'll be sure that it looks good in both physical globe and in printed map. I'll probably make these maps public for anyone who's interested later. Once we get to certain stages, like once I have a finished coastline, I can make that available if anyone wants to, create their own world in that. With these land masses, they could put on their own place names. Once I have the whole globe done, of course, I'll have that image available for people as well. In case anyone wants to do their own stories in Gethra. If the stream continues, it'll end up being a very developed world, so it'll be really a cool setting, I think, for all different uses. And with it being, community driven, I'm hopeful that we'll have, a lot of different people with different ways that they could use it creatively. I'd love to see what everybody comes up with. So again, this shoreline is not quite as smooth as you see in some areas, where in here we had some protected land for beaches and stuff like that, and particularly once you get around equatorial regions, you would have less. There's a bit of a tectonic area there, so. But for now, we're kind of we're considering parts of our own world, like the northern coast of Russia and Europe, where you have a lot of rough land, rugged. This looks like a very straight area. We'll have to add in a little bit more roughness than my guideline has here. And how far does this go on before we get into something else? All the way around that point. So that's all the way out here. All right. It'd be really exciting once we move on to working in Photoshop with this image and get a bit more detail in there. Maybe we should add in a bit of an inlet here. Got a little square there. We can touch that up after. I did get my stream from yesterday up on YouTube, so if anyone wants to check out if you missed the stream yesterday and you're curious what all we did, there's some Lives of Gethra chapters, like a podcast audiobook kind of thing that I was reading yesterday. We'll continue that later today as well. And there's also a bit more of this, so I kind of touched on what I'm doing here in case anyone wants to follow this as a bit of a tutorial. You've got to set up a texture draw layer that you can then just paint texture onto, and that's why it's we're going back and forth between black and white rather than an eraser. It's a little bit not quite as nice to work with as some other programs, but it's very nice to be able to cross from 3D to 2D so quickly. What's going on in this area with just kind of a rounded part of the tectonics? Okay. Well, let's just touch up that spot there a bit. It's a bit better. I want it to kind of look like, like some of this stuff in here or around here, where it's just a bit bumpier of a coast. Yeah. I also had my notifications not quite working right yesterday, or alerts for people following or signing up. So should be working better today. We'll have to see what happens. Oops. Made a bit of a dot up there. Now I believe that up here we're going to be getting into, oops, some more mountains if I'm correct. Yeah, so these two tectonic plates are just grinding against each other there, and we're going to have, maybe it's hard to see with my cursor that way. Is this a bit better? Yeah. Between this zone and this zone, there's going to be a lot of earthquakes, and really it'll be mountainous and rough there. So, because if you look at Earth, we have those zones like um, in along here. That's kind of what's going on, I believe. So, the West Coast. All right, so I'm going to have to start making this a little bit rougher. I didn't really touch on it yesterday while I was working on the globe, but yesterday when I was reading my chapters, I showed you guys this map. Let's see here. This is kind of the known world of Gethra, where the stories have taken place so far, but I really want to expand it into a whole world setting. It'll just give us so much more that we can world build on the stream here in the Knaves Guild. So yeah, so we're going to be moving. So we're going to be exploring the rest of this world as well. But when I'm kind of reading the existing lives stories from my website, Lives of Gethra, this is the map that I'll be showing for that. And eventually we'll get to this level of detail with this globe, but that'll be a longer process for sure. But if we look here on the globe, I can actually show you guys, here's that same area. Now it's very rough because I just wanted to get a placeholder in there, but you can kind of see the similarities, with the same landmasses. Radrigar is this big kind of continent, they consider it, and then out here you have Numenacris. Yesterday we were reading about Venuth and her caravan that got a new job, and they're around that area. And then we had Dago, who is also kind of forced into a new job, but a much different situation. He's kind of living in this area up in East Radrigar, it's called, and the city of Elikar. But of course, this is a very rough kind of placeholder as I work on the rest of the globe. We'll get that more detailed eventually too. All right. So all this has got to be just really mountainous. It's always helpful to compare to the real world. So let's take a look here at, well, actually, let's double check. One second, guys. I want to look at, that's not a helpful one there. I'm just going to pull up some reference material, make sure I get my stuff right here. I like to be quite accurate with my world building, I find it helps with making it a believable setting and finding all those details. So, alrighty, so yeah, if we look at this image here. One second, sorry guys. There we go. So this here, why are we all zoomed in now? You can see that's exactly what's going on with the Rockies there. You got two tectonic plates going up against each other. And so in my kind of rough non-scientist's method of doing tectonic plates, same kind of thing happening there. So we're going to use the Rockies as a guideline, the Rocky Mountains. So let me just close that back out again. There we go, and yeah, let's dive in here. So lots of different kind of splintering islands and land masses, the erosion and rivers and stuff come flowing out of the mountains, and you get all different kind of rocky land masses and a very jagged coast. Now, at this view that I'm working at in the globe here, like even if I zoom in, if we go too far and we get inside of the globe, oops, and so that of course is not the intent here. So if we zoom back out, now I've gone too far, but even at this level of zoom, that's like this. So it's going to be hard to get this level of detail in there, but that'll come later once I move into Photoshop. So we're going to be kind of just getting something that looks similar in some ways to this kind of landmass here. Let's see if I can pull this off. All right, so we need to start bringing in more different islands and shapes and stuff. There we go. Just really want to have it all quite blocky and jagged. And we will later get into making this look a little bit better once we get to that level of detail. I feel like Blender was working a little better for me yesterday. We'll have to see if that's something that I can improve later. There we go. Just make sure everything's still working right over here. Good. All right. I'll work on this stretch down here next. Oh, that's a little bit too straight. Especially with this being in the kind of northern area of Gethra, you'd have compounding effects from the glaciers and the mountains. There we go. Get rid of some more of this. We'll just do this for a few more minutes and then move on to something else. How long does this mountain range go for? Let's take a look here. Until we get around the bend, it looks like. So that's all the way down here. So this is going to be quite a rough, rocky, mountainous area. If you have any questions or anything, always be sure to comment or chat here on Twitch if you're here live. Love to see what you guys think, and if you have any ideas or if you're curious how to do this sort of thing yourself. I've been working on various mapping projects for most of my life, since I've always kind of been into writing stories and imagining different worlds and stuff. So it's something that I really enjoy and take fairly seriously. So as you guys can see by my level of detail here. I think at some point I will do a more detailed kind of about me video. I don't think I even said my name at the start of this one. So I'm Nick. I'm running the Knaves Guild here. If you're curious why it's called the Knaves Guild, I kind of think of it as like a knave, like a rogue, but also my initials, which are often on my book. So if you take a look here, you got N.A. Vrugdenhill right there. So couldn't fit all of my name on all my books, so we use my initials, and there you go. So the Knaves Guild. And I've been working on all different books, some of them interactive like Gethra, and some of them um, are more kind of designed in advance and written like a traditional novel. And all my stuff is available on Amazon. But I was excited to kind of do something a little bit more interactive here, so we'll get to that today at some point. Even if we only have a couple of people, it should be good to go. There we go. Real big island chain there. And then as we come up to this bend here, we're going to start kind of smoothing it out a bit. There'd also be less glaciation effect at this, what is that, latitude, longitude? Oops. Lost a bit of our line there. Gotta remember to drink water. But yeah, beyond working on books and stuff like that, I've got a full-time job in the tech field. I'm doing kind of technical writing and stuff like that. And I live in Ontario, Canada with my wife. We live in the country near a city. And we are fortunate enough to be able to get a house before this whole housing market explosion, happened with the pandemic and everything. So we were fairly fortunate and very happy with our situation now. But I hear for a lot of my friends and a lot of you guys, I'm sure it's a hard situation right now with the market just so crazy like this and rents going up like crazy. I used to live in an apartment in the city, and it's just skyrocketed the prices. I would not have been able to afford that place now, even though I lived there for 5-6 years. All right, I think this coastline looks fairly good here. Let's compare it to some of the other areas, make sure we're consistent with our style. Yeah, I think it's good. That's a really big island there. I forgot about that one. And then out here, we got something like, kind of like you see near Alaska. Oops. So I kind of drew some inspiration from this. Again, that's coming from tectonic activity, and you get that big stretching line of land and islands. And so I kind of took that one here. Now, it doesn't connect to another landmass quite as quickly, but I think this tectonic plate is moving across the northern hemisphere, and so you got, a tailing bit of land that's getting squeezed together by the tectonic plates there, and you end up with this big kind of crumple zone. But yeah, it's kind of fun drawing kind of familiar shapes and putting my own spin on them to make it unique to the world of Gethra. It'll be even more exciting once we can get to figure out who lives in this mountainous, earthquake-ridden area here. We'll get there eventually. All right, there we go. Let's see, so that's been about 25 minutes of working on the globe here, so I think that's probably good for today. Got a big rocky mountain range done, and we finish off the north coast here, so some pretty good progress. I'm not really sure, once we get down to the existing, kind of like the known world of Gethra, we'll have to see about, if I'm going to put that detail on the map, or once we get into Photoshop, I can probably just paste that over top from my previous map. But then again, there's a bit of distortion because it's on the globe, so we may want to do a new version just to see how that will distort. But yeah, over here we got our two-dimensional kind of version, so we can take a look at everything we drew today. Looks a little bit flatter when it's in 2 dimensions than on 3. But we can, it still looks like a believable kind of coastline, so I think that works out pretty well. And then we've got all of our kind of rough mountainous area over here. There we go. And you guys can see the rest here, so there we go. So we'll close that out, save. All right, there we go. Will be nice to see once that comes along to a bit more than just a black and white line, but that's where we're at for now.